Greetings and konnichiwa, and welcome to the Onyx Tavern. I'm your host, Rick the Barkeep, bringing you episode 205 here at the Tavern, where tonight we're going to be talking about Power Rangers Beast Morphers. So yeah, if I had patience and had waited one day, we could have been talking about this last week as it was announced. And it's actually kind of funny because the last video I did was about Hasbro taking over the toy license. The previous video was about my hypothetical adaptation of Go Busters. And what do we have now? After 2 weeks, we have the reveal of the next Power Ranger series, which will be Beast Morphers based off of Tokime Sentai Go Busters. So I think a lot of the ground I'm probably going to be covering tonight may be a retread. I'm going to try to avoid a lot of repetition from what I had previously said. I suggest if you haven't seen episodes 203 and 204, go check them out. Again, I cover more detail, but there is some more information that's come out since then that I think would be interesting to go ahead and cover. To go ahead and talk about in relation to Beast Morphers and, frankly, the future of Power Rangers. So I'll do my best to, again, not repeat myself and give you guys some new thoughts I have here. First of all, we actually do have a plot for it. It's very brief. It doesn't really tell us anything, but heck, it's interesting to go over. So this is the plot as it stands, and I quote, "Set in the future, a secret agency combines a newly discovered substance called Morph X with animal DNA to create the Power Rangers Beast Morphers team. The Rangers must fight off an evil sentient computer virus bent on taking over the source of all Ranger power, the morphing grid itself." Unquote. So, a lot of things to unpack there. I'm going to try and break it down as succinctly as possible because, again, that's all we really know about the series. We know that's going to be based off of Go Busters. We know they're going to use the Zords. I guarantee you they're going to be using the Gold and Silver Ranger. I'm also going to speculate at this point they'll probably develop a sixth Ranger, simply because, here's the weird thing, and this is where all this kind of speculation is going, is that it hasn't been outright stated, but the common held belief is the reason we were skipping seasons is because it was to satisfy Bandai. That Bandai of America knew that Go Busters was not selling toys over in Japan, but Killjoy, those toys were selling like hotcakes, so I decided to go ahead and do that. The toy sales were strong for Tokuger, but they weren't going to go ahead and use trains because they wanted to go ahead and get ninjas in there, that would be more profitable for them to go ahead and sell. Again, the implication is that the Bandai was in control of what seasons were getting adapted, that they were dictating to Saban, hey, this is what we're going to go ahead and do. Now, while I don't have any official confirmation on that, it would just seem likely based on circumstantial evidence, which makes it interesting that Hasbro is going back and doing Go Busters, because I don't know what Hasbro's deal is if they are actually calling the shots here. Now, creatively, I think Saban going back, that would make sense. If Saban, if the writer said, we want to do Go Busters, we want to focus on a few Rangers, we don't want to work on all these gimmicks and stuff. There isn't a lot of Japanese footage we can use, so we can develop our own. From a creative production standpoint, I think that makes perfect sense, and I would like to think that's what they decided to go ahead and go with, if they were no longer restrained by the toy company on what they can and can't do. Now, if it is the case that Hasbro is saying, yes, this is the season you have to do, and they chose to do Go Busters, I find that interesting simply because I want to see where they would take the toy line. Is this going to be a case of they're going to take what was done and improve upon it? They'll find the molds, make their own molds, and make it accurate to the show. Or do they have something new that they want to go ahead and develop? Some new toys, some additional robots, some figures, some Rangers, whatever. And that's why I speculate about Sixth Ranger, because if you told me that Bandai was adapting it at this point, that they were going back and Bandai was still holding the toy license for Go Busters, I would guarantee you that they would try to make a Sixth Ranger. I mean, look at what they did for Jungle Fury. They added 3 new Rangers into the series. It seems that when there are not enough Rangers, that they do want to go ahead and add some more. And again, Go 5, Lightspeed Rescue, that's another example right there. So any season any season post Zoo Ranger doesn't have a 6th Ranger, they will typically invent one, and we see the track record with that. And I just wonder if Hasbro is going to develop a Six Ranger based on the Lion Zord, which I'm not really opposed to, as long as the costume fits in with the rest of the others. Because I think one of the problems I had with Jungle Fury and their Spirit Rangers is that the Spirit Rangers were based off the enhancement mode, the Jungle Master mode, as opposed to the standard Jungle Fury Ranger mode, which aesthetically does clash, and it honestly seems like it wasn't made by the same people who designed the Geki Ranger costumes. So again, it was off. But if they can make it work, I would be happy to see a Six Ranger as long as there's a story along with it. And if he goes along with the Lion Zord, hey, again, and what is it going to be? That's like navy blue, so we'll get the navy blue Ranger maybe, or maybe they'll call it purple. It'll change the shading a little bit, and on the show it'll be the Purple Ranger, which, hey, I'd be fine with too. It's not exactly the same, but it's close enough. Okay, let's actually go back to the plot because I kind of got off on a tangent right there because I wanted to address that. But let's talk about what's in the plot and what we know now. So, set in the future. This is where I'm a little wary. The first thing is set in the future. What future is what I'm asking? It's going to be. I mean, Power Rangers right now is. We really haven't gone into the future since SPD. So are they going to go into the future like in the same SPD timeline? Is it going to happen concurrently with SPD? Is this going to go 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 years into the future? 200 years into the future? 1,000? How far in the future are we going to go ahead and go? It would be interesting maybe if they did run it parallel with Time Force because, hey, aesthetic design, colored visors, Time Force head color visors, hey, I wouldn't be surprised, if they send you 3,000. That would be interesting to go with. But I just, if it's so close in the future, it would just cause a couple of headaches continuity wise. Because, guys, think about it for a second here. We're not that far off from it being 2025 and the setting of SPD. And by the time Power Rangers gets there, we have to address that. I don't care what you guys say. It's continuity. It's important. That's what needs to happen. So you can't have it be 2025, no SPD Rangers show up, no aliens show up, blah, 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 and stuff. So I'm always worried about shows that are set in the future that are like close to it. Because again, think about X-Men. It's in the near future where we've basically surpassed that almost at this point. I just don't want to cause continuity headaches. So I'm hoping it's set far enough in the future that it's displaced in that regard. As long as time travel's not involved. I'm sick of time travel. That's probably a podcast for another time. But I'm wary about the future thing. Secret Agency, I guarantee you that whatever the name of that agency is going to be, GB is going to be the initials because, of course, that's plastered all over the Go Buster stuff. So we'll come up with some sort of acronym: Global Busters, Global Bouncers. I don't know, something. I guarantee that G is going to stand for Global. Now, with the Substance Morph X with animal DNA. Now, the latter part of this does mention the morphing grid, so obviously we're going to have to take into account that's where the Rangers' powers are coming from, because all Ranger powers come from the morphing grid. But I'm curious about this, what this Morph X thing is. Now, as we know from Go Buster, it is a genetic thing that gave each of the Rangers their powers, and they almost pretty much function like a computer: overheating, run low on energy, freeze up when you see a particular image. That was their whole gimmick. So I imagine that they're borrowing that aspect and bringing it on over. So are we going to get them jump higher, be stronger? Yes, that's probably what it's going to be, that the suits themselves are not going to be the actual enhancements themselves, but wherever this Morph X thing is with the animal DNA. Which brings up another issue, is that, again, the show's called Beast Morphers, and we're talking about animal DNA here. Now, Go Busters, the animal thing was a complete aesthetic choice. They didn't have to do animals, they chose to do it. Animals have nothing to do whatsoever with the plot of Go Busters. They decide, hey, we got these powers, let's make this one look like a cheetah. Let's make this one look like a gorilla. Hey, let's go ahead and make this one look like a frog. That's what they decided to go ahead and do, and I think that makes it better, because I think Go Buster could have fallen into the visually unappealing if they were just the vehicles without any type of animal motif, which was fine. But again, it's purely aesthetic. This is not Zoology, this is not Gao Ranger, this is nothing that's based on animal powers. Beast Morphers, on the other hand, is going to focus on it being animal powers. So, again, what's that going to manifest as? Is, if the Red Ranger, is his super speed going to go ahead and be based off the cheetah, because he does have kind of super speed moves in Go Busters? Is that what's going to be attributed to? And given like the digital effects with it and so forth, is it this Morph X going to be something that it's like a computer thing, that maybe they are cybernetic, maybe they have nanites in their bloodstream that's causing this? Maybe Morph X is, maybe that substance is a nanite of some sort, silver goo or whatever. So I think that's interesting to put on there, but I want to see him doing something unique with this. And let me just go on a brief tangent right here. If you guys haven't checked it out, look up Pop Arena's Animorphs book reviews and his TV show reviews. I've actually been following his videos. I mean, I watched them years ago, but I've been rewatching them in my downtime, just kind of have them on in the background. But he does great reviews on Animorphs, and he's kind of moved on to some other projects right now. But definitely go check it out. Pop Arena Animorphs book reviews. He's like the only guy that does it. But the reason I bring that up is because Animorphs, the whole purpose is they have animal DNA and they can turn into different animals. But every now and then there's a weird hiccup with with that animal DNA. Whether it's they morph to starfish, split in half, and you got two different personalities and a character, stuff like that. But one of them, number 12, The Reaction, features the primary character in the series of Rachel. She acquires I think it was crocodile, not alligator. Please correct me on that. Crocodile DNA. And somehow her body is allergic to it, to where the DNA completely splits off from her and forms a fully fledged crocodile. But it causes her issues within the story, where she basically is morphing into it, changing, all that kind of stuff causes some things. Now, interestingly, and again, this is still on my tangent here, so bear with me for a second. When Ninja was doing the whole they become the Zords thing, my initial thought was, okay, so they're based on animals, they're creating it themselves, and they transform into it. So they're still mastering these powers. And I thought there would be a subplot for a couple of episodes, or maybe one full episode, where they tried to master these powers but manifest in odd ways. So, for example, Fuka, who is our Shiro ninja, she had the power of the tiger. And I imagined what would be a great episode around that time is that she tried to transform into the Tiger Zord, but by accident, because again, she's not as adept with the powers as everyone else was at that point in the series, that she would accidentally turn into a tiger or to a tiger girl, or that her power to change was fluctuating, like she'd get tiger claws, but the rest of her was still human, that she would be messing with it and would cause her social problems. Because remember, she was kind of the most social, because she was like, the kawaii girl, and she had friends she hung out with that were not the ninjas and stuff like that. And of course, she's got to deal with that particular problem. And I imagine, and of course they didn't do that because, well, that would have been interesting. But I imagine that maybe that's going to be an element we deal with in the series here. If we're going to deal with 3 Rangers at first and 5 overall, again, possibly 6. And I would imagine the 3 would be going for a good chunk of time, and then we'll talk about a little bit about how long I think 3 Rangers are going to last. You can do stories like that. Maybe it's the beginning of the series where Go Buster already had their powers established. Maybe it's the beginning of the series where they get infected, maybe with the Morph X. And one of the initial symptoms they have is that they are turning into the creatures. Our Blue Ranger is exhibiting gorilla-like symptoms. The Yellow Ranger is exhibiting rabbit-like symptoms of some kind. Maybe her ears get longer, or buck teeth, or whatever it is. Red Ranger starts growing a cheetah tail or something. I mean, little things like that. Because if you're going to introduce the Morph DNA aspect to it with the animal DNA, there has to be some sort of complication with it. It just can't be easy. Because I don't think they're going to go the route that Go Buster did, where the Red Ranger sees a chicken and he freezes. I don't think that's what they're going to go ahead and do, and frankly, I wouldn't do it either. That's the one thing I would not import over from Go Buster. The concept of, again, mechanical issues and all that, but not the freezing at the chicken thing. So I'd love to see the animal DNA be something that they explore in the series in some fashion to that, where they are transforming into animals, having issues with animal instincts, or any number of things to. Again, because I imagine these powers are going to be incredibly powerful, but they have to have some sort of weakness, Achilles heel, kryptonite, whatever, that's going to make it more difficult for them. And I think that would be an interesting way to go ahead and take it. Um, Also, real quick, I really wish Beast Machines wasn't copyrighted because Power Rangers Beast Machines would be a lot better. I mean, we already used Beast Wars back in Jungle Fury, but Power Rangers Beast Machines sounds a lot better, and I bet it will be better than Beast Machines. Beast Wars is better than Beast Machines. There, I've said it. Okay, so, and then they're finding evil sentient computer virus. Can we please have Saban buy the rights to Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad and bring back Kilo Khan and Tim Curry, please? I know Tim Curry is not in the best of health, but how great would it be if we could get him the voice of villain in Power Rangers? Seriously. And if you guys have no idea who Kilo Khan is or what the hell I'm talking about, then please turn your nerd card in. I'm joking. Okay, bad joke. But seriously, Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, it was the same plot. A sentient computer virus wants to take over the world, and he does it through computers, and Matthew Lawrence and his friends have to stop him via Gridman footage. It's the same plot in a way, honestly, but the Rangers aren't going to go into cyberspace. It's going to be in the real world, obviously, or at least we think. But man, wouldn't it be great if we get Kilo Khan for the series? Because I tell you, Kilo Khan was like the best part of Samurai Cyber Squad, really. And again, Tim Curry voiced him. I mean, it's amazing. Go look it up. It's on DVD. Go buy it. It's on Amazon. Probably get it for like $4 or $5. But yeah, I would love to see where they go with this. Again, what I'm hoping is, so we're gonna go with the Messiah thing. Let's, if you're gonna do the computer virus, you can make him the anti-Zordon, whatever. It doesn't seem like they're gonna go up an evil team of Rangers, so that's out. That was my idea that I wanted. But have two human servants, because that's the thing, is like there is no opportunity to do rubber suited villains. Think about it. Yes, they have the suits, but the suits weren't utilized that much in Japanese footage, and I really doubt that they would actually film new stuff in just rubber suits. So this to me says that they have to do villain costumes, where it is actual people. Now, yes, I know Dino Charge did villains and all that stuff, and what we have them in costumes, but I think if you're going to scale down the cast to 3 Rangers, and again, just 5 later on, then I think you can do 2 reoccurring villain characters, main plot characters, whatever, because that would just add a great dynamic to the series. Actually have somebody to play off on. And that's actually something they've been lacking in a lot of Power Ranger seasons. Now, again, I haven't seen Ninja Steel, haven't gotten around to it yet. But for every season prior, it's really lacking where they don't communicate with the villains one to one. And when they do communicate with the villains, it's pretty good. I mean, looking back at Samurai, when Jane and Decker would get together, that dialogue was interesting. The way they would interact was interesting, but they never interact with Xandrid or Octoroo, so there was really nothing interesting going on with the villains in that regard. Dino Charge is the same way, and when they interacted with Heckle, that was interesting in of itself. We just need to stop having the big "I am evil" type of villains out there. We need to have sly and cunning and character depth, because you know, I love tragic backstories for villains. I still maintain that the best villain in Sentai that I've seen in a very long time is Ryo from Geki Ranger, because he did have a tragic backstory and he was an interesting character, and he did play off Jan and the others. It was great. I loved it, and I wish we can get something like that over here, over in Power Rangers. So I think this will be a great opportunity to, again, not only resurrect Kilo Khan, but bring in 2 human villains, which then you can make them into the Dark Buster and Enter Escape, whatever costumes you want to give them. But again, that's what I would love to see happen, and I think that would be great to go ahead and have. So that's really just kind of going over the plot. And again, now the indication also, and this hasn't been confirmed by anyone, but it would seem that we're going to go back to seasons contained within 1 year. That Beast Morphers, the 26th season, will only be the 26th season, not the 26th and 27th season. It will be one contained season within a year, which I think is great. Again, what they started doing around Power Rangers Turbo, and they might have done this for Zeo, is that they would have the first half of the series go off for a couple of months in the summer, come back in the fall, and finish it out. And by the time, I want to say, well, it was probably before Christmas or after Christmas. I'm not exactly sure, but the series would be over by the end of the year. And I think having it self-contained within 1 year would be great. I think that would be the positive way to go, because I just hate how they stretch it over a 2 year period and it really means nothing. It's just, you forget the show's on if it's not on a weekly basis, to be quite honest. And I think if they do it within the 1 year, they'll probably have that summer gap. Like I said, they'll probably go back to that style. And I do think that whatever that mid-season point is, they will do the three main Rangers, and then we'll stir it up with two Rangers for the second half. So 20 episodes at the front with three Rangers, and then 20 episodes at the back with all five. And again, probably introduce the sixth Ranger by the time they introduce the sixth Zord. I have no idea how they're going to handle the Gold Ranger and the Silver Ranger, but that also depends on how they're going to handle Buddyroids, if they're going to do Buddyroids at all. Now, Buddyroids honestly are not going to be that integral to the plot. Would I like to see them? Certainly, as long as they do something interesting with them. But they're likely going to shoot their own cockpit footage, simply because that's what they've been doing for the last couple of years. And so I could certainly see them eliminating the need for Buddyroids. If they had Cheetah Nick in the series, it would probably be only as his motorcycle form. And in that case, they would give all the Rangers their own personalized motorcycles, which I really don't have a problem with. That was actually the issue I did have with Go Buster, is that Cheetah Nick was a motorcycle, and Lettuce and Gorseki and all those guys, they did nothing. They didn't change in the vehicles. They were just kind of there. They never worked in combat, which I kind of thought that Gorseki would be great in combat, but they didn't use them. So I could see them scaling out the Buddyroids, and if they did use them, they would be like background characters or something. I just don't see them being integral to the plot unless you are going to develop them in some way. And that being true, Jay Stagg, what they're going to do with him. I just can't really speculate at this point. I mean, you can certainly do a Gold and Silver Ranger without acknowledging that one's a robot and one isn't. I think you can certainly do that. If they do go the path of the Buddyroids, I don't think he's going to be included, simply because he's not integral to the operations of the Zords. Because if they go Buddyroids, they're going to have the original cockpit footage, and they're going to make new cockpit footage, I guess. The Buddyroid thing is just, I don't know how it's going to go ahead and work, and it can go either way. I just want to, if they're going to do Buddyroids, make them sentient and make it purposeful to the plot. Do something significant with them, is I guess what I'm trying to go ahead and say. That's what I would like to go ahead and see. And yes, I know the toys are integral with the Buddyroid design to them, but if they're not Bandai, they're probably going to make new molds anyway, and they could always eliminate that feature. Plus, if you actually watch the series, that is not even significant within the show. Like, the fact that the head of the Ace Buster becomes like Cheetah Nick is not relevant in the transformation sequence, or for any of them really. So I don't see that as being something that's going to go ahead and be adapted at all. And then one last thing of note here that I'd like to go ahead and bring up is that, and I'm having, this is something I've been hearing, and I don't know if it's really true because I can't find the exact text to it, but I'm going to explore it anyway. Is that apparently the contract with Hasbro states that there is an option for Hasbro to negotiate to purchase the Power Rangers franchise from Saban. Now, if that is true, depending on how well Power Rangers does in the next few years, I suppose how well the ratings are, how well the toys sell, and all that. And of course, Power Rangers will be on Nickelodeon until about 2021, I believe, is the date. That Hasbro may choose to buy the franchise, and in addition to Transformers and board games and My Little Pony, that they will have Power Rangers under their belt. I'm not sure how to feel about that. at this particular point. I mean, if it were me, I wouldn't mind if Disney repurchased the franchise, because look what they did with all the other stuff that they bought. And again, I'm going to go on this rant one more time. They bought Star Wars, made new movies. They bought the Marvel Studios. They're making Infinity Wars and Civil War. They buy the Muppets. They put new movies out there. They buy Power Rangers. Let's cancel that sucker. But again, you've heard me say it a number of times. I just don't know what Hasbro would look like in the hands of, or Power Rangers would look like in the hands of Hasbro, and I don't know. It just kind of depends on how these seasons go and what I kind of think about it. My whole thing has been is that the Power Rangers needs to move away from the childishness that it is and to be a more sophisticated program. In the vein of something like, Gargoyles. That is something that was made for children, but is sophisticated for any age to go ahead and watch it. And what I see with the Neo Saban era is that it is not as sophisticated as it should be, to be quite honest. I have a lot of issues with that. I've gone to them before. If Saban can go ahead and turn this around, if they actually kind of put an effort into it, now that they're not held hostage by the toy company, and start writing interesting stories, then I'll be happy. If they can't do that and Hasbro ends up buying it somewhere down the line, I would certainly be interested to see where Hasbro takes it, because, and I know this is really different from the past, but I would say that the Transformers franchise, excluding the feature films, the Michael Bay films, are more sophisticated than Power Rangers in that regard. And prime examples, I think G1, first, up to the movie probably, Beast Wars, Beast Machines. I mean, for all I didn't like about Beast Machines, it was sophisticated, to be quite honest. Actually, now that I think about it, why can't they use Beast Machines? I mean, Hasbro owns the rights to Beast Machines. Like, they can't just call it Power Rangers Beast Machines. Oh well, okay. All right. All right. Well, that's all I really have on this topic. But yeah, just finish that out. I want to be cautious about it, because when Disney bought Power Rangers, that to me is when it really started to decline. That might have had something to do with when I was in high school. My tastes were changing and all that kind of stuff. I still love Power Rangers, warts and all, but once Disney kind of acquired the property, it started to decline for me, and again hit rock bottom with RPM, and that's a combination of a number of factors, and most of it was because Disney did not give a damn. But in any case, that's Beast Morphers. That's what we have. That's what's going to be going on with the franchise in the immediate future. I need to catch up on Ninja Steel, obviously, to see where this goes from here. Apparently, there's a crossover thing that I really need to talk about, but I need to get more information on it. And there are a few more things I want to talk about next week. Maybe we'll get another show in before next Saturday. We'll see what I can go ahead and do about that, because there are a number of things I do want to talk about in regards to Sentai, but I do eventually want to get to the Power Ranger comics discussion, probably before Shattered Grid comes out. So that's a little bit of preview for the future, guys. But let me know what you think. What do you think about Beast Morphers? I know I've been commenting on my last two videos about it, but give me your definitive thoughts on what you think of Beast Morphers. What do you think of what I've talked about tonight? And what do you, again, ultimately want to see from this new partnership with Hasbro? And again, the fact that they're going back. I mean, and hey, I am crossing my fingers that we get a Tokuger adaptation soon, and I really, really, really hope. I mean, guys, I'm not a Tokuger fanboy, but there is so much aesthetically about that show and conceptual wise that I love about that show, that I really, really, really hope that they get some good writers and come some good ideas to where Power Rangers, whatever their Tokuger adaptation is going to be, can be a great show, because I think the building blocks are there. Just you need to. Anyway, that's what we got. So, I want to thank you guys for listening. Have a good evening. And the tavern is now closed.